If you were to imagine a very stereotypical New England village, red brick siding and all the small businesses that you'd expect, that's exactly what you'd find in Damariscotta. We're right on the Damariscotta River, which is huge for oysters. And you can tell just even at the local seafood markets, farmers markets, everything is so fresh. It's all one big community, which I love. Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you? So right now we are at the Riverside Butcher in Damariscotta. Here's all the beef. We have some pork over here too. That's Heidi back there.
It's my favorite customer right now.
And then over here, we have the freezer section and duck breast right here. My absolute favorite cut of meat to cook. Oh, it's all personal expression. And when I cook, I do the same thing I do with music because it's how you interpret it. You get to put your own spin on things, and I love that. So this is Simmons Seafood Market, right across from the butcher. And there are times we've come in here and just gotten fresh seafood that was caught right off the boat within the last hour or two. And it's probably some of the best seafood I've ever had. Right now we are in what I call the music room. It is a room in the back of our house. From the moment I was born, I was surrounded nonstop by my brother, and he's also a really wonderful violinist. He started playing when he was 5, which is around the time I was born too. My parents also were really big into just having classical music playing in the house, in the car, on the radio. My parents like to tell me I started playing around the time I was 3. I don't know if that's really true, but I think around the time I was 5 or 6 is when I got really interested in it. I started practicing. I started taking lessons. As I got older, I started to see my brother as a mentor, which is awesome. And then around the time I was 7 or 8, I started just improvising. Nothing too serious, but just improvising, exploring, writing my own music. And when I was 10, I started taking composition lessons with Ginny Latz at the New England Conservatory Preparatory School in Boston. And with her, I've written 2 piano quintets, a piano quartet, some string quartets. It's a whole other form of personal expression, and I love it. Back on violin, I could tell I was getting to a point where I just really needed something more. And in the summer of 2021, I was a member of the Green Mountain Chamber Music Festival. It was there that I first took lessons with Lynn Chang, who's the same teacher my brother studied with and still studies with now at Boston Conservatory. The first teacher I've ever studied with that I felt motivated to practice right after the lesson. The music community here in Damariscotta is pretty small. Katie Newell, who is my first teacher, she also has what she calls the Oyster Creek Fiddlers. It's not something that I do often, probably 3 or 4 times a year, but it's really nice to be able to connect with that group. I feel like I'm going back to my roots every time I play with them. I mean, we're all family, so I think that's wonderful. And with the music community not being that big, it requires you to find your path and your focus for yourself. I mean, if you go 3 hours south, and there's Boston, and there's so much more there. So typically going to Boston every week for my private lesson for violin and orchestra. For the past 7 years I've gone down there. It's a 3-hour drive. We get back usually around 10 o'clock at night. In November of 2022, I was notified I was a finalist for the National Young Composers Challenge in Orlando, Florida. And then 1 month later in December, I was named a winner, which I was not expecting. But it was a really pleasant surprise for my third movement of my first piano quartet. So it's a really fun piece. It's called Scherzo. It was performed by graduate students at the University of Central Florida. And to be honest, that was probably one of the best musical experiences I've had outside of violin, probably the best, just because as a composer, I channel so much of my own experience into what I do. And it was really amazing to see 5 other young people from around the country who do the same thing that I do and see how they compose for themselves. The advice I would give to someone who is just getting into classical music, maybe is from another small town, I would encourage them to expose themselves to different types of music, get to live concerts, definitely. That's so important. And at the end of the day, only do it if you enjoy it.